Council meeting to order. It's 6 p.m. At this time, everybody's here, so there's no regrets for tonight, except for our CAO, Linda Fraser. And at this time, we're going to pause to seek guidance. I'm now going to read our mission statement for the municipality. It's to provide, promote, or facilitate municipal services that meet the community needs while preserving, supporting, and enhancing the quality of life for all. You've got the agenda before you. Is there any additions or deletions?
I would like to add an addition, request for presentation for committee of the whole in May.
Okay.
5.3.
Yeah. Anything else? Hearing nothing else, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
The seconder? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. The next thing on the agenda is that tonight we have a presentation from Alistair McLean from Open Hydro and Anne-Marie Bellevue. And can I have a motion for them? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. The floor is yours, and if you want to come up to the table,
Excellent.
that'd be great.
Board and councillors, Pat, Jeff, thank you all very much for your time. Anne-Marie and I are quite keen to come back. We were busy just last week, so it's a delight to come back and have a chance to talk a bit about what we do. And I would, if you're agreeable to this, prefer to go through this quite quickly so we can use the time in the agenda for you to ask questions. Excellent. You probably have more pointed questions, and I'm going to talk about my blah presentation here, but if I don't give it, she'll tell on me and I'm in big trouble. Quick introduction. So I'm Alistair McLean. I grew up here in Western Nova Scotia, Halifax. Left actually 28 years ago for work, like so many people did. And came back last year because of tidal energy. I saw this project. Now this is really exciting. And I'd like to come back to Nova Scotia as a chance, not just for the company I work for, but it's an exciting time for Nova Scotia to see if we can really do something which could change the world. So it's really fun for me to be here. And a colleague here, Anne-Marie Bellevue, has been in the tidal industry a lot longer than I have. I've got the gray hair to show that she's been at it for longer than I have. She was previously working for Force up in Cardsborough, and then I think last year, Anne-Marie?
Yeah, you and I started at the same time.
Okay, moved to Emira, which is, as I'll talk about, one of the partners with Cape Sharp. And Anne-Marie, I discovered as we were driving through town last week, Bellevue, she's got local roots here in the area. She couldn't point out the house her parents grew up in. We'll get to that another day. So we're here. Thank you very much. The Cape Sharp title, I don't know if I really ought to be introducing us or reintroducing us. Might be more appropriate. I think you're all probably quite familiar with who we are. So I'm not going to go into this slide much really, Jeff. If we could just move on to the next one, that would be great. So what I would like to talk about here, our goal hasn't changed from what it was perhaps 4 years ago. Our goal here is to put a 2-turbine demonstration project in the water in the Bay of Fundy to show that we can produce 4 megawatts of greenhouse gas-free renewable energy in a way which makes a lot of sense for everybody involved. One thing I might add to the goal here, well, actually, we'll get to it. While we work in that goal, we've got 3 commitments we want to fulfill. The first one says we want to talk to people. We want to talk to people, we want to listen to people. We want to talk and listen to the people who live and work in the Bay of Fundy. We need to be sure we understand people's perspectives and do what we can to accommodate them. Now, I recognize that we're not going to make everybody happy. And quite frankly, it cannot be my goal to make everybody happy. But it is our goal to at least give everyone who wants a chance to speak to be listened to, And if we can make changes to make things better for all of us, we will. And if we can't, we'll be straightforward and honest about that and say, sorry, we'll have to do something else instead. So that's our commitment. That's our first commitment there. Just let's talk. Let's listen. And of course, we've been interested in being able to share our information with the people who live and work in the Bay. This is new technology. Sometimes it's complex technology. And therefore, there'll be lots of rumors and talks and people who think they know what's going on because they saw something on Facebook or whatever. And we want an opportunity to say, well, okay, that's fine, but let's put the facts on the table here. Because I believe if we all share the same facts, we'll probably come to a fairly similar conclusion on what's the right thing to do for the industry. The second commitment we have here is that we want to minimize the impact of our marine operations on the people who are already living and working on the bay. You have seen the photos of what we have. We've got big pieces of equipment. We're using big ships and vessels. We're moving stuff around. And we know that's going to have an impact. One of the things I've learned since I've come back is that I think there's somebody fishing in the Bay of Fundy every day of the year. So waiting for there to be no fishing season to do something doesn't make sense. So therefore, my view is fishers and harvesters are business people. And they understand business, and so we can talk to each other and figure out how do we make sure if we're going to impact somebody's long-standing business, we need to be fair about that. How do we cooperate to make sure everybody can have a successful business together? And the last point up there is that we want to give people as much notice about what we're going to do as we can. And this one has to be a tricky balance. Because if I reflect back to 4 years ago, when there was great hope Open Hydro was going to build a facility in the area here and be pumping out turbines by now and all sorts of stuff. Okay, well, is that giving as much notice as possible? I'm not so sure. I think what we want to do is give as much notice as we can, but also be known as a company who does what it says. And that means where the balance strikes there is that we can't, for example, I'm not going to tell you today when we're going to put that turbine in the water, except to say we're going to do it in summertime. But there's still a couple of risks we have to sort out. Part of that turbine is in Ireland today. It's got to come back here. Okay, is it going to arrive on time? Hope so, not sure. So I don't want to say to you, we're going to be in the water on this day, and then discover in 3 weeks' time that the boat's late and we're wrong. So as we get more confidence in our program, we'll have more confidence to give everybody more detail about what it is we're going to do. So we appreciate, particularly to the harvesters and fishers, they need lots of notice. If we're going to ask people to move traps, they need lots of time, they need to organize their business. So we want to be respectful of that. I've mentioned already twice, I think, about how we're not going as fast as we hoped to 4 years ago, but I also want to emphasize that while that's true, developing new technology is difficult, and it's expensive. You may have seen we spent $33 million in this province already. Last year, we spent, I think, $4 million in the province of Nova Scotia, and we didn't put a turbine in the water last year. So this is expensive, and it takes time, and it's difficult. So it's taken us longer than we expected. But nevertheless, we're very proud of what we have done. We have put a turbine in the water here, and it worked. It's okay, that's better than the first time we had to go with this. And we successfully, after some fiddling around with the mooring line, of course, that was unpleasant, but in June, my third day in the job, I drove up to Parsville and watched them take the turbine out of the water in 71 minutes. Within 60 seconds of the schedule, that thing was out of the water as planned. That in itself is quite an achievement for this industry, and one which doesn't really get celebrated. Fair enough. So we're making progress. We're proud of what we're doing. But one of the things we've learned is we need to continue to learn. So rather than putting two turbines in the water at the same time and hoping they're both right, let's put one in the water. Watch. See what happens. Yeah, okay, that worked okay. Now let's put the other one in. Or maybe what we're going to do is go, you know what? That's not what we hoped for. Let's go to the other one and change this or change that and make a couple tweaks to it and then put it in the water so we know that the next one's better than the one that's in the water. So the turbine we put in the water this year, I will commit, is going to be better than the one we put in the water at the end of 2016 when we took out last year. And the one we put in the water after that is going to be better than the one that's in the water this year. And that's how we're going to continue to have a better turbine and, what's important for the ratepayers, a less expensive turbine, so the cost of electricity is not so high. I don't know, you guys have probably seen this photo. I'm not sure if there's any need to go, but what the message here is that I mentioned that we've got this sort of a demonstration project. there are three parts of the demonstration project. I'd just like to remind us all about. One is technology. So obviously this is our technology, and we've got all sorts of things we want to do to make it better than it was in the past, drive down the cost, make it more reliable, improve our manufacturing of it. There's lots of things in terms of technology, and generally when people think of the demonstration project, you think about this. But there are two other aspects I think which are really important, which I'd like to cover. So this is the second one, environmental monitoring. This industry is not going to proceed unless people agree that this industry is benign. If people believe that this industry is chopping up fish and doing all sorts of bad things, we're not going to survive. It's incredibly important that we can successfully demonstrate the environmental impact of this industry on today. And the challenge here is that the technology to do that didn't exist a few years ago. So as we're developing the technology, the industry, driven by force, and the government and the universities and so on, are working on the technology to be able to collect the data to demonstrate that this technology is going to be okay. And it's very, very important. Like what you see in that photo there it's an image from the sonar, which is used to record the fish that would come near the turbine. Because an important question, of course, is what are we doing to the fish? So we're using sonar, we're using passive equipment, we're using all sorts of different types of equipment to collect the data. And then just think about this. How would you like a job where you've got this kind of thing to look at 24/7? If we're collecting data every minute the turbine's in the water, someone's going to look at this and figure out what does it mean. You go, oh my God. So someone's got to write some code. So some bright spark at Acadia has got to figure out how to automate this so that it can tell us, that's good, that's bad. And the neat part for the province of Nova Scotia is, when that person knows how to do that, no one else in the world knows how to do it. So suddenly Nova Scotia can export that around the world. And that's really cool too. So that's the second part of the demonstration. And the third part, again, is community engagement. And there's engagement, and there's participation, and there's economic development. I'm going to, the purpose is just combine those all together here and say, part of this demonstration project has to be to show that the communities who are involved, worst case is, let's make sure they're not hurt. Next best, obviously, is let's make sure that the communities who are involved here benefit through this industry somehow. All sorts of opportunities, but I think someone sat in this chair a few years ago and told you they're all coming. I'm not going to make the same mistake, but we certainly recognize the province of Nova Scotia uses us a feed-in tariff to put our turbines in the water in Nova Scotia. Not in France, not in Scotland, not anywhere else. It's here. Why is that? Because they want to see economic development in Nova Scotia. You can get that. Our turbine, as you know, is being repaired in St. John. Unfortunate circumstances, but until we can figure out with the province and with the local municipalities, how do we cost effectively do our work in Nova Scotia to keep those rates down, we need to do work where we can when it makes sense. So this is definitely a very important part of our demonstration project, is how do we be sure to engage with the communities and look for ways to create economic development opportunities for Nova Scotians. Jeff, I might have one more slide. What's next? Okay, learn, innovate, and advance. That's what we want to do. Okay, we're working on our next turbine. It's going to go in the water in the summertime. We're going to watch, we're going to learn. If that goes well, we'll get the next turbine ready to go in the water after that. I'm not going to tell you when the next one's coming, because we have to learn a bit from this one first. But for sure, we're coming. One, and then a two, and then I hope when the demonstration project is successful and we've demonstrated the technology works, we can do it at a reasonable price, but not hurt the environment. The province of Nova Scotia will issue some kind of a competition for maybe 10 turbines or 12 turbines or something, and then we can go after that. And when that happens, that's a happy day for all of us. Because then there's really economic development, which we hope we can take everywhere. There you go, Warden. Thank you. Okay.
I'm going to open the floor for questions.
Perfect.
What I'm hearing from some of the fishermen is they're concerned that the turbines will hurt their fishing. And I do not mean as an obstacle.
Physical obstacle.
Physical obstacle. So my question is, will it be, will it not be?
Well, given I work for the turbine company, of course, they're going to say, oh, no, it'll be fine. Seriously, though, we have, The balance of probability of one turbine hurting the fishing industry is very, very small.
No. They're talking about that you put the turbines in their fishing area permanently.
Yeah,
Like there's areas that the fishermen fish.
right,
They don't fish the whole bay,
for sure.
okay? That's the concern. That's what I'm saying when they're saying hurting.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm
That-
sorry.
that
I
was
did not
all-
mean, I didn't mean killing fish.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's displacing the industry by putting turbines in.
Right, thank
So
you.
there's from a technology perspective, one of the reasons we spend so much money to make a turbine that sits in the seabed with no mooring lines and so on is because we believe that's the way to minimize the impact on the industry. I'm happy to say that I think we're the only person who spent the investment to make that. Many of our competitors are going to put rafts in the water with 4 mooring lines off that, and they have a vision of seeing dozens of these in the water. My own view is I'm glad I work for my company, not that company, because I don't think that's going to go very far with your fishing industry.
But even so, when you put it, it's gonna hit the ground, right?
For sure.
So that's what they're talking about. Traps, they go pretty low. They're not gonna be at the top of the water. They're gonna drop their traps down. They're wondering if they're gonna be in those feeding grounds. If there's big grounds where the lobsters have been, are you going to work with the fishermen to say, okay, this is where a big part of the lobsters are, I'm gonna fish these every year, here. Where are you gonna be? Here. That's
Yes.
what we're asking. That's what we're asking.
Understood.
That's what we're hearing.
Okay, so I don't want to defer to someone else, but that's actually a question for the province of Nova Scotia. My commitment is where we are going to put turbines, we are going to work with the existing industry to figure a way that makes sense for everybody, if we can. The province of Nova Scotia hopefully is going to have the wisdom to pick what's called a marine renewable energy area, and they're going to decide where should we allow turbines to go. That's the moment where they should make sure they make a good choice. So they're balancing out the legitimate concerns of the fishing industry with the opportunity to bring renewable energy and other economic development opportunities to the bay.
Because I've heard the scholars are, they're concerned too. It's not just the lobstermen.
Yeah, and I think this is the wisdom of having the demonstration project in force. It's a clearly demarcated area. We won't be putting turbines anywhere else until we've got 2 there, and there's enough data has been collected that the province of Nova Scotia can share that with people. So, okay, here's what we've learned, here's what we think is the best next step.
Now, if you do another demo, or try to do a demo down here, will you do St. Mary's or Bay Funded?
If I may correct you for a moment, we never tried to do a demo here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I thought it was your company.
This is an example, but we did announce in May or June of last year that we wanted to come down to the bay to put a turbine on the bottom.
Yeah, and you changed your mind.
And I think that was fair to say that was a really unpleasant experience.
Don't surprise people.
Well, there you go. So in terms of how do we learn from that, and my colleagues have a few bruises on them for it, and that's part of the reason why we're going to make sure we minimize the impact of marine operation, and we're going to get people off the notice. The first principle, let's share information. What we wanted to do there was only come in, put the turbine down at the bottom, and allow it to spin naturally for a couple days, so we can collect some information, bring it up, take it away.
Well, I told several fishermen that's all you were doing.
Yeah. But the point is, we did a really lousy job of communicating to people what we wanted to do, and I don't blame people who fish and work there to think there's no benefit to me, and this could only go sideways. I didn't answer your question. The key issue for us is if we come back to do a test, we will communicate clearly and well in advance that we're going to want to do that.
Okay.
And right now, I think it's fair to say we have no plans to come back to do tests anytime soon, but that could change.
Another comment that was made to me was, if you're looking at putting turbines in the Bay of Fundy, why did you want to go to St. Mary's? And don't have to answer that, I'm just saying. That was a question brought to me. I said, well, I don't know. I'm not a man.
Oh, no, I'm happy to answer the question.
Oh, okay.
When we do this test, we want a reasonably flat seabed, rocky, not muddy. We want a tidal range, it's not crazy, not so steep.
Okay.
And we want a more modest tidal flow than we would have when we put this thing into the energy. We just want to watch it turn. We don't need to have the full force that we would get out in Midas Passage. St. Mary's Bay is a great choice, also because it's more or less weatherproof, isn't it? So we could come in, put the turbine down. It's unlikely there can be such big waves. You have to take it away and come back. So we're developing an understanding that sometimes that's what the lobstermen in particular hate most. Not so much being there, it's a coming and going that they really don't like. So there are some real benefits to St. Mary's Bay for that reason. But it would only ever be for a test, because if we want to make money, we're going to put the turbine somewhere else where there's lots of current.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Tudor.
Yeah, I was going to touch on what you said. Don't surprise people.
Agreed.
People are very much, down in my area, we're a little more used to the idea of tile development. We've been watching the tides go by for 70 years. People have been talking about tile development now for 70 years now. And so it's not so much, yeah, we're the islands.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't find there's as much misinformation down there as you find in other places. The lobster fishermen are much more, or very, very protective. They have to be. They have one of the few industries around here that is still sustainable. I would talk to people down there. To maybe there's some sort of information or narrative that you could borrow from what's gone on down there that would be replicatable for other people and other people who have other stakeholders, lobster fishermen in particular. Also, is the water brown or clear where you're going to be putting this? Because I would say you guys put it in clear, you might have a field to put up a video and say, look, it's not sucking lobsters into the vortex, that sort of stuff. The fact that it's all in muddy water, it's difficult. People like to see, what I mean, with their own eyes. And this is something I was throwing out there. Yeah, it's clean, environmentally sustainable, and that's what you want, but you got to prove it. And I don't know if sitting in a bunch of mucky water that no one can see what's happening is going to pass that smell test for the regular people. For the fishermen in concern. Well, we don't know. It's in the mud. Well, you showed your radar thing. That's something. Yeah, you gotta talk to the people as much as you possibly can, and you gotta be really careful about who you pick. Don't pick a couple flashy guys from over the mainland. You know what I mean? To make the pitch. Try to find somebody that has some experience talking to folks like that. If I was you, I'd talk to Rick Trask. Because I haven't seen anybody else be able to, we had a thing in the Passages a couple of weeks ago, and it was signed in support of a local research station with Tidal Energy. It was signed off by a bunch of people in the community, myself including the guy in charge of the Lobster Fishermen Association.
Sorry, what was the name again?
That's Greg Truss, that's SOAR.
Oh, Greg Truss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anyone else be able to pull off anything like, for example, when they had the fish kill from the tides, rain, and wind event in the St. Mary's, people were thinking it was way on the other side, but I talked to some of the old fishermen, and they're like, no, this happened back in '78, and this happened also in the early '60s. It's a combination of these things. You never even saw it in the paper, It's like, it was like this big mystery to everyone except for the guys that fished the St. Mary's. So, you got a lot of work to do because there's a lot of concern, and people are rightfully extremely protective of it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Without the lobster, it'd be nothing. And people refer to err on the side of caution, but feed them with information, they'll feel safer.
I'm still trying to decide, Councillor, if you just called them flashy.
No! No. Well, you are wearing pants.
There you go. But I'm the only guy not with the tie on, so
That's right. Jimmy gave me this.
Kidding aside, we do appreciate your advice, and the issue about the water and not being clear comes up a lot. And the last time this came up, I just had to say, you're right. It would have been a lot easier somewhere where it's clear, but we're not there now. It's too late. Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is use some very expensive technology, figure it out. I think most fishers are familiar with fish finders and so on, so that they'll recognize kind of what they're looking at. But it makes our communication a lot more difficult. It's not just a video.
Have you ever thought of making the radar information open stream? So somebody wanted to click on it and take a look and see if the fish are all being sucked into the vortex or if they're staying clear or whatever, and people can see it on their own without that extra filter. I think something like that. Hey, look, you can come at any time, unfiltered by us, click on this link, and you can get you can see the same radar picture we're seeing, and I think those sorts of things might improve public perception.
We can't do that anytime soon. We we're just not able to do it yet, but I agree with you. The more we can put the data out there for people to look at themselves, the better it is.
Especially unfiltered, so they go, oh, they haven't had a chance to.
Well, I know, and I mean, your point's right. We're the new guys in town, so until people have some trust in us, they're going to assume that we're fiddling with something. I get that.
Okay, Councillor Ross and then Councillor Mander.
Has the province and you guys got together with the fishermen and done like a public consultation or anything?
Yes,
That in the works?
definitely. And we, I think it'd be fair to say, Anne-Marie, we'll meet with anybody anytime we can. We met with, on both sides of the bay. Just in the last couple of weeks, I've met with the Fundy North Fishing Association on the other side of the bay, and we met with Fundy United Fishers, which are close to the Cardsburg. We've had less success finding some people down here who would like to talk to us, but certainly we're eager to talk to whomever would like to about what we do. As I said earlier, one of our three principles and how we do it is we want to talk to people. We want to hear what people have to say, recognize where we can move, recognize where perhaps we can't, to share information.
Have you thought maybe with the province or just you guys come down, set up something in the fire hall or something for a day to maybe bring people out?
So, to be honest, we haven't thought about coming as far as that, as far down from Parker right now.
Yeah.
So right now our focus is to have some public meetings closer to the Parker area, because that's we anticipate that people are more likely to be closest to the turbine are probably most nervous. So we need to focus on them.
Yep.
But definitely we have plans before we put the turbine in the water to have some public meetings with people who come up.
Put your feelers in first, and that way when you do work your way there,
There
you
you go.
know some people and they get some trust.
Well, let's hope so.
They know who the players are.
Right, excellent, thank you.
For down here, if you're looking at the inshore scallop fisheries, you would contact Vance Hazelton. I'll give you his number before you leave.
Okay, thank you.
The other one I can get you for the other inshore fishermen. There's like scallop inshore and another inshore. And I will get that through Vance as well for you.
Okay, thank you, it was great.
Just before we move to the council manager, in regarding to like where the fishermen are, Area 35 goes from Digby all the way up to where you're situated. So even though this seems like it's quite a ways away, a lot of the fishermen from here actually fish up in that direction too.
Okay,
Just to let you know.
sure thing.
Okay.
Who's in charge of the monitoring for your, you drop this thing in the water, for supposed fish killing or whatever? Who monitors that?
So there's never an easy answer to these kinds. I apologize for all, not just saying it's me or it's them. The short answer is force. You are not, of course, a berth holder. You're not making money in this. It's their job to provide the government of Nova Scotia the environmental monitoring results. And then in terms of who collects the data, they're responsible for collecting all the data. Let me start the other way. At the turbine itself, from the turbine out 100 meters, that's our responsibility. We have to ask, we tell the province, here's the kit we're going to put on the turbine to monitor everything around us, and they say, yep, that's good, or no, it's not. So we're responsible for 0 to 100 meters, and then Force is responsible from 100 meters out to, I think it's a kilometer or something like that. Our Nova Scotia environment wants us to give all our data to Force, and then Force will collect that up. Now we'll have 0 to 100 plus 100 out. They'll collect all that up, and they give that to the province of Nova Scotia for review. And of course, in the process of that, when the data gets collected, we can't do that ourselves, so we use people from Acadia and other people, the experts in marine biology field, to look at the data, prepare reports, and those reports, unedited, have been appended to our annual environmental monitoring report, which was released, I think, at the end of January. So our 2017 report is out, and it has the unedited reports and the sciences at the back of that. The short answer is Force is responsible to make sure that we do our job properly, and they get that information to the province.
Any other questions?
I just say, talk to Greg Strauss, take him seriously. We had so I can't remember the name of the company that came down and they sent a couple fellows, younger fellows. They should have sent somebody, a familiar face. The only guy who's seen the best practices that have actually resulted in people feeling comfortable about the industry in the area. Plus, we got whales and seabirds going through, and people are still. He's got the local whale watching groups on board for a demonstration project down there. Nobody else I've seen do anything like that.
We've hired Greg in the past.
Okay,
Yeah, we know
Yeah,
Greg.
we've had him out on the boats during some of our marine operations.
He goes lobster fishing sometimes and things like that, so he's well known.
Okay, good, thank you.
Deputy Warden?
The only other comment I want to make is you want to have meetings for the fishermen, make it on the weekend,
Yeah.
Friday night, Saturday night. Do not think you do want to pick a middle of the week, afternoon. I can tell you how you can get them upset with you in a matter of 2 minutes, because that stuff has been done before, and they just feel it's being done to offset, because they can't come in, they can't afford to come in with the price of fuel to come to a meeting they want. I just wanted to get that out there, because, and the only reason I say it, I have a husband, brothers, uncles, brother-in-laws, all fishermen.
And it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, there's no point coming down here to talk to people if we pick a spot when they're all busy. What have we accomplished? Nothing. I like it too. Before I was working here, before I came back to Nova Scotia, I was doing some work in very small agricultural communities in the West Coast. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
If I want to talk to the farmers and the folk who are picking lettuce and so on, you don't do it when they're trying to make a buck. You've got to find some time that's convenient for them if you want to talk to them. And that's the simple measure of respect from our perspective, and of course we'll do that.
Yeah, the scallopers are the weekend, but the lobstering, you have to do it, there's different seasons for 35 and 34. January, February, go after them.
Yeah.
Windy and cold.
Yeah.
Scallopers, they get their weekends off, but
Yeah.
the lobstering is a different species, so they
Right.
work
So
7 days a
you
week.
have to look for all of them.
Yeah, you gotta get them all involved.
I just had a couple things I wanted to mention too. Our council has been very supportive on trying to see this industry grow, because we see it also as being a brand new technology, brand new industry for Nova Scotia. On saying that, we also don't want to see our traditional fisheries negatively impacted by it. So, we like the idea of the steps you're taking and the R&D you're doing, so that you mitigate the issues and you can talk to the fishermen about those issues. We've also looked at Digby as well as Hansport and Parisboro as being the three areas of Nova Scotia anyways that could potentially take benefit from this industry growing. And in Digby, we've done a lot of work on trying to promote this region, and we've got the only deep water port on the Nova Scotia side of the Bay of Fundy that probably could accommodate the technology that you're using. So in saying that, we're hopeful that this industry does take off and grow. We do know that it doesn't happen overnight, because, I think we've been talking about this for 7 or 8 years now anyway. And, but in saying that, we've also looked at how do we position Nova Scotia to be able to take advantage of this technology, because as you know, we all know that right now you've had to go to St. John, New Brunswick because of the infrastructure that's in place there. But we can't build infrastructure without knowing there's going to be a use for it. So as you progress on, we'd like to have probably further discussions with you on what role we could play with you in developing this industry, because we're right now doing like a business plan on what would a multi-use facility look like, rather than just having a single use, because you may not have a use for a facility year-round, but we may be able to put something together that could accommodate 2 or 3 different types of industries, and that makes more sense. So, just wanted to leave you with that.
No, thank you very much, Warden. I appreciate all of your patience. I came back to Nova Scotia, not New Brunswick, to do this. So, Kate Sharp, Amira particularly, is a very strong Nova Scotia corporation, wants to bring the economic development benefit to this industry to Nova Scotia. We recognize it's the ratepayer in Nova Scotia is paying for our electricity, and we've got to make that happen. I will thank the province that they're giving us some patience. You're exactly right. We're in this strange moment where there's a little bit of work, and everybody wants it, but there's not enough work to have something which is really substantial, which would allow anybody to make an investment to make sure it can happen here. So it's tricky, isn't it? How much work has to happen so someone can make an investment to help make it go here? Don't know yet. That's where we push the province. We've told the province quite clearly that if we can get an order for what we think is a commercial-sized project, we'll build turbines in Nova Scotia. We do not want to be shipping turbines. The turbine we have now is coming from St. John. The one after that's going to come from France. We have a factory in France. Its purpose, to be clear, is to serve Europe and to ship the ones and twos who need to go somewhere until there's an industry here. And that we've told that to the province of Nova Scotia and made it clear. When you guys, the province, can place an order so we can come here and build a good number of these things, that factory comes to Nova Scotia. And that's when the work that you've done and the economic development people in the area have done to say, we're ready to go. We just need some investment, whether it's in cranes or docks or roads or power, because the grid here connection is important. Then the province can go, okay. And then we've got a really nice, we'll have a specification, we know what you need, we'll take care of the factory, you've got what you need, and the province comes in and says, okay, let's all figure this out. So I really hope those days are coming. And certainly, anybody, feel free, if in 6 months or whenever you got a question about what's going on, contact Anne-Marie or me. We can put you in contact with someone else if you want. We're happy to take questions about this particular issue especially. Okay.
And it's helpful. I can leave a few brochures here which point to like some of the reports that he talked to and also their contact information. That's helpful.
That's great.
To leave those?
Yeah.
Great.
We have local festivals too.
Do you have any questions?
You know, when there's something going on, just, pay $300 to a local organization doing it, have somebody pleasant sitting there with a smile.
So you call me flashy, now you're saying I'm not pleasant.
It doesn't take much, man. You combed your hair.
I'm not sure I'm never coming back here again.
Call the fashion police.
It's the island, remember it's the island.
Yeah.
Very good, it's all right.
I wasn't referring to you.
I know
actual
you're
people in my
not.
mind.
That's okay.
Years ago.
Thank you for your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on now to the approval of the minutes of February the 26th.
So moved.
Do you have a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Unfinished business from the minutes of February 26th. I'm asking, do you have any? No unfinished business? Okay, we're going to move on. You've had a chance to review the CAO's report, and you've had a chance to look at the meeting dates and reminders. Outside of Deputy Warden Gregory, is there anybody else that has a conflict with any of the dates presented? Okay, hearing none, you've got action items from the previous meetings, sorry. Where is that? I'm trying to bring it up here. Okay. Update on capital projects. Any questions? Pretty straightforward. Okay, the financial report. Can I have approval of February 2018 payables of $871,916.62?
A motion to approve the February.
Go for it.
I motion to approve February 2018 payables, $871,916.62.
Seconded by.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. And you've had a chance to review the income and expense report. Is there any questions? None? Strategic priorities items. We've had the update of the work plan. I think it's on track as to where we want it to be right now. Any questions? Okay. And move right along. Standing committee items. Bylaw and policy recommendations. The first is a letter of support to the town of Annapolis Royal regarding the Smart Cities Challenge.
I move we write a letter of support to the town of Annapolis, supporting the Smart Cities Challenge.
Do a seconder.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. The next is the low income tax exemptions for 2018-2019.
I suppose that, we do the 2018, sorry, 2017, no, 2018, 2019, municipality, I can't even read it, 28-29 low income tax exemption, which will be, in the amount of $250 for income that is less than $26,000.
Based on that's the total income for the household. Seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. And now, first reading of the proposed bylaw for solid waste.
I so move that we pass the first reading of the proposed bylaw for solid waste.
Seconded. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And
I
the last thing under standing committees was to approve the salary scales for 2018-19.
I move
Seconder?
Second it.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Before we move on the council now priorities,
Yep.
just a question like the Barton School thing, it said, done 25 to 30,000 for heat insurance. Is that for a year?
Yes. That was for heat and light insurance, snow plowing, stuff like
I just
that.
wondered if that was for a year or.
From what we were told from the
Oh,
school
a lot
board.
less than that, maybe.
No.
That's what we were told, and if you were operating the facility full-time, it was more than that from what we've seen in the little bit of time we've been involved.
That's fine.
Any other questions on that? Okay, the next is committee of the whole recommendations, Wharf Rat Rally additional funding.
That was the $3,500, was it? I'll move
Yeah.
that.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And the next was the appreciation dinner for first responders.
Did we find out what exactly that was?
It was on there.
A whole
For
bunch
the
of
RCMP,
So it covers all.
firefighters or some.
yeah.
But I think there was also a date conflict though highlighted.
Well, we can sponsor it if we so choose. It doesn't mean we have to, we're gonna attend it because it's gonna be at the same time with the FCM, but
But we're not all going to the FCM.
it's not going.
David, you're
I'm
not.
going.
Oh, are you going?
First time out, first time since the first time.
Oh, okay, I'm
Years
sorry.
later, I was
I
like, you
didn't
know
think
what,
you were
man, I can't
going.
stay in Islands all my life.
Oh, okay.
I can go eat some Thai food and learn some things.
Depending on scheduling and everything else too. Once I know what the schedule is for the FCM
Yes,
if
everybody.
it's possible, I will come back to this for the dinner. Because I think it's important for, now knowing who's all gonna involved.
They showed their level of sponsorship. It was down.
$500 that's the minimum.
I would so move that we, sponsor $500 spas level. And Jimmy, if you decide if we can work it, I'll come back with you for the second ticket and attend.
Where is that being held? In the valley?
No, fine.
Oh, Geez, that would be fun for you to drive to Halifax, drive back, and drive back.
No, I'll drive back with him and we'll drive back again.
Yeah, we'll see but we'll see how the schedule
We'll see how the
works out.
schedule is.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Deputy Morgan Bucks.
Anybody else gonna say aye?
Aye.
Approved. Sorry, one didn't cut it. Okay, the next is business items. 5.1, funding requests for community grants. I'm just going to name off them. Digby Area Health Services Charitable Foundation Golf Brochure, Digby Neck Collective, Southwest Nova Biosphere Reserve Association, Weymouth Waterfront Development Committee, the Weymouth Board of Trade, the Freeport Community Development Association Trail Grant, Victoria Quilts Canada, Spring and December 2018, Clare Health Center Foundation, Digby Choral Federation, Royal Canadian Legion Branch 20, Society for the Friends of the Pharaohs, Bay St. Marie Animal Society. Can I have a motion to have these
So
referred?
move that we have these funding requests put to the budget process.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And the next is UNSM resolutions, a request for input on the UNSM priorities for 2018. You may have had a chance to read this, but we don't have to submit our total list until April 30th. So if you want to put feedback into it now, we can, but we may have a bit of time that we could put some more thought and discussion into the different priorities.
I'd like to have a little conversation, specifically on SB 3 community.
That's not enough time, it's gotta be in.
Oh, 30.
I'd like to do a little discussion
We
tonight.
talked councils for 23rd.
Yeah, we do that.
We can do it next council.
But you want to add something to it?
Well, I just
There are
thought
some- we
it
can.
might be better to start and do a little tonight.
We
and
can.
A little bit more, because there's a lot of stuff here.
I don't disagree.
I'm just saying,
Where are we here?
They had 10 things there that they had brought up,
What
yes.
page is it on?
and they basically wanted our feedback on what we had felt about them.
87 and 150.
When I was looking at those 10, actually, the cannabis legislation actually, for me, came up as one of the top priorities, just because it is falling into place, and I still feel that we really don't know what the impact is going to be on the municipalities.
It's also an opportunity for us to maybe get a little money to offset the out-of-control growth in RCMP costs. So that would be why I'd like to hit it up, because a lot of municipal units are asking for
That's a
share
separate
of money.
issue. That's a separate issue.
That's a different issue again.
There is another issue there for policing
Yeah,
services,
that's
number
down,
10.
that's down further.
But we're talking about the cannabis legislation and
Specifically.
the impact it's going to have
Yeah.
on municipalities. What it would have an impact potentially is with policing.
For me, I just felt it was in the upper echelon, even though it was showing there, that doesn't mean,
Yeah, I agree. UNSM should be talking to the province on what role each level of government is going to play and what impact it's going to have on municipalities. Because the provincial government is going to benefit from taxation, whereas municipalities, I don't see where we see any benefit from legalization.
That's the angle I'm concerned about.
But, so this is one that we could, we could talk more about later, but I think that would be one we could identify as being a priority. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, the code of conduct too, that's quite timely. Things are becoming much more rigid, I think, properly so. People expect high level professionalism. And it's at a new level now, and I think that people like our own human resources guidelines, when were they written?
We've got a code of conduct.
yeah, we have, and
About
remember,
it should be updated though.
I think this is referring to the fact that there's a lot of municipalities that don't even have one.
right, and they're having a workshop in April already on this.
Okay, I was thinking that this was the sort of thing that, this is the time. These things it's a different world out there, and maybe if our code of conduct was written 10 years ago, maybe it could certainly require some updating to,
Economic development. housing would be on.
Housing.
I agree with you. I had housing up there and I had RCMP up there. Those are my top three personally, but I picked the top three for me.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and then my fourth one was solid waste.
yeah, but you know one you guys are missing that I think is important is immigration.
I had that as number 5.
Because our province isn't going to be going anywhere with more people in it.
But I mean, I just meant for me, my top 3 were these. I mean, I had them all listed,
Yeah.
right down to the 10th.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're facing some major problems around here. Even you look at the businesses around here now that are struggling to get enough workers, and we want to see our region grow, but we don't have a workforce to maintain that at the present time without bringing people in, which is great because that's what we need. We need to bring people back here, but we have to have good quality jobs for it. But on the interim, though, there's a lot of businesses around here that rely on having to bring in people on a short-term basis just to try to keep the doors open.
Henley does it all the time.
Yeah.
It's the same down on the islands. A couple of businesses attempted to move the old system. The paperwork is prohibitively difficult and time-consuming. We had a couple people down there who were still down there. The Briar Lodge also has a lot of trouble finding people. For example, right now they only have one person hired for housekeeping, period.
Right.
Entire building. And they can't find anyone else. So they signed up for the new provincial streamlined one. And it was put to me, they lied. It's not easier. it's just as difficult on us as.
But there are we do have a lot of businesses in the area that do rely on having to bring people in.
I'd love to get them and get them with their kids and integrate them and leave them there.
All right, I guess
Like to see.
my point is that we've got to try to improve immigration for the province. Nova Scotia only attracts 2% of the immigrants in Canada, and 1% stay here. The rest move on. So of all the immigrants that come into Canada, no, it's not. But we also have a declining population in Nova Scotia and an aging population. So
Average age 53, isn't it?
it's up there. But the thing is, so we're not. I don't want us to make a decision tonight, but we're just having a discussion on the different ones. But I'd like for everyone, for a takeaway from tonight, to look at these and maybe, really put some thought into it, prioritize them, and then when we meet again, we'll come up with our list. But the last one even is not the last one, number 7, Municipal Modernization and Municipal Government Act revision. Like, there's a lot of discussion going on that right now across the province on trying to, not necessarily amalgamations, but having...
That was my last bottom one, number 10.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just saying.
well, there's nothing wrong with having us work together as regions.
Oh, I have no problem with working together as regions. But I was saying, when I looked at the whole situation of those 10,
Of the 10.
that one was on the bottom,
Right.
because I thought there was more things more important. We all should be working as a region, which we do. And I guess maybe I was being very selfish, because I'm looking at even the seniors. I had that down as, I think, number 9, because we're doing it. We in Digby are doing it.
Oh, I know
And
that.
I think maybe that's awful, and I'm a little bit biased, but if we are doing it, and
What
it's
do you
work,
mean? Yeah,
I mean, so for me, I was looking at the stuff that I felt needed
needs
more.
work on it.
Yeah.
You were looking at progress.
Something has to be number 10.
Oh.
Regardless.
But no, seriously, I actually thought all 10 were important.
Yeah.
But to me, if we were gonna send in a list, I look at, if we're doing this well, I gotta, and I know we are supposed to be looking at it as the whole province, but we still wanna look at what's gonna benefit us the best. And I mean, and I think personally that we're a model of working as a region.
Trying to, yeah.
Or working, we have done that for many years. Look how we work with the town. Look how we've worked with the Annapolis. Look how we've worked with Clare.
Oh, I know.
So, I mean, to me, we're a shining example of how to work.
Work with other municipalities with the internet, so.
Yeah, we try to.
We're trying.
Others battle with each other.
No, I know, but there's
Little
also still ways to work better together, even saying what we've done. But like, getting back to, but I want to go to another one that you mentioned earlier, solid waste. Like, for example,
Like I said before, yeah.
yeah, it's an important one, but until we start, I think.
They've got to change it, because we've got to be able to be allowed to burn
That's
in
what I
the
was just gonna
proper
say. We
way.
need to be able to have a gasification plant in this
Right.
province.
I agree.
And then you can get the energy from it, but also, it's the only way we're gonna handle our waste going forward.
Or we ship it overseas, or we ship it.
And extend
No.
the producer responsibilities to most of the rest of Canada and some.
You don't need it though, George, if you have a gasification plant.
Yeah, but how long is that gonna be coming, you know?
Well, the technology's in the world today. Whether they get it here in Nova Scotia or not, I don't know, but
In Vienna.
but I don't think that there's enough demand we don't create enough waste in Nova Scotia to have multiple units. You're probably looking at one unit, probably central in the province.
And I was gonna say, and that to me would be Truro, because that's central.
Yeah.
Well, geographically central, it might not be central as far as waste.
Well, really
collection.
central is actually New Glasgow, but I'm going by which is the easiest for all roads.
But it's not to say that, yeah, but it's a benefit to everybody in the province to have that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's better to truck our waste, say, for example, if there was a gasification plant in Truro, it's better to truck our waste to Truro and put it in a system like this that's gonna, handle our waste better instead of burying it. And also, you're gonna be able to create electricity from it. So, and anyway, I think that's the direction I'd like to see the province go in, and UNSM. So, yeah.
So, I think like you all said that they're all good ideas. Coming back for the meeting on the 23rd, do you think at least your top three? Like, we're never going to get a list of 10 that everybody has the same order.
No, I have, like I said, I've got my top three.
We all bring our top three in, and then
bring
we'll
your top three, and then we can work on.
Then we'll determine what the top three are going to be for this council as a whole.
Well, it will, yeah, you can work it that the top three can become then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 even.
Yeah, probably.
That's it, right? You'll still have probably a lengthy list by the time you're done that, instead of trying to order all 10. That'll be some complicated math.
Well, if you put on,
Immigration,
yeah.
expensive costs.
Well, what we can do though, we can put our thoughts on each topic. On
Definitely,
paper
we
and
should.
submit that, even if it's not a priority. We can still, like, say for example.
They want that.
Yeah, they're going to want our feedback on all those topics. So,
You want that for next council?
yes, next council meeting.
I'll even be here.
Okay, we're going to move on. 5.3, presentation by St. Mary's Bay Community Group regarding the Barton School.
I received an email today from I gotta double check her name, I'm sorry. Lois Oliver. Oh, thank you. From Lois Oliver asking if on May the 14th they could come to committee of the whole, and they'd just like to talk about their, they'd like to make a presentation to the committee of the whole, which would include a business plan and reflect the diversity of ideas from our community.
In regards to Barton?
Yes. And I sent it to Jeff and Pat to see, and so we thought we should check for our council. They do have, we know that our open house is the week after, but I think they just sort of want to give, I'm not sure, I do not know who the chair is right now of this committee.
Was it those people that were in our, we signed in our last meeting of the whole?
They were in our bylaw policy, and then we made a statement that we would have a public hearing for the public on May 22nd, I think, as a council. We set priorities, we should stick with priorities. I mean, there's other groups looking at this. We can't be favoring one. I mean, we told them there would be presentations after the 22nd meeting, so.
What's the feeling, how do you feel about this?
If everybody's, if there's only one group, after the 26th is like when we're having the public meeting, correct? 22nd, so have them come to the public meeting.
Yep.
It is probably better for the business plan anyway to hear what everybody else is saying.
The public meeting we're having in Garden School, that's like from 3 to 7, so if somebody wants to come and do a proposal, like, are we all gonna be there to hear this thing for those 4 hours, or?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So that certainly is not the format that we discussed at the last meeting, right? We saw May 22nd, or the date that we set, that was more of an open house to present information, allow people to get through the building as it is now empty, to have some information on the property size, on basically anything we can get information, and to gather what some of the questions are as well, right? Like I'm sure lots of other questions. Some we'll be able to handle that night. Some we'll find out, so we have to do it for the school board. But that was the idea for that night. My concern with this presentation, and I guess in the discussion we had at that last while on policy, was if we are heading towards it's recognized as a tender, right? Where we go to tenders to community groups, that this could be seen as preferential treatment. If this group has a chance to present to council, the same council that will have to evaluate these tenders later on, before the tender process started, no other group will have had that opportunity. Now, I know that's sensitive, because they just want to share the ideas or the concepts they're coming up with, trying to balance that, but that is the concern procedurally, that other organizations,
Well, they're having their
tender
weekly
process later on,
President.
may voice concerns that this group was given a chance to
So
present
you get
to
a
the
presentation
people.
though after the tender process, you then move on to everybody else, is that correct?
Well, I think that will be
No,
the
that is-
discussion when, if we decide as part of the
Yeah.
tender process, that presentations are for the finalists. I do believe, and I'm not saying we have to do it, but I do believe the town, when they got down to their final two, allow each group to come and do a presentation. That certainly could be something to be discussed when we're putting our tender process together. But it's just a procedural concern. It was, I guess, my lens on it.
Well, so address that.
As long as someone writes her back and explains why, I personally have no problem with them coming in before, or they come in after, because I see it, they just want to give information. I understand where Jeff is coming from, and that's fine too. I don't necessarily agree with Councilor Ross on saying, it's sort of cut and dry, or it should be after. That for me, I'm just saying, I have no problem with someone coming in and presenting. I know that there's going to be some public asking to come in to address council as well, compared to if private citizens would like to address. So, my only comment is, when people ask to come forward to council, we better have reasons why we're saying no to private individuals and groups. I have no problem with what you're saying, Jeff, and if that's how council feels.
Well, that's outside the bylaw policy.
And I guess that's where the balance is, where, and again, this is a council discussion, but it's actually easier, I believe, if council chose to hear from individuals than an organization. It's just the fact that you're going to be the evaluating body for the tenders, right?
If we do tenders, yeah.
I thought at the
That's
beginning
what we
that
were
was
doing.
the
That's why I don't
agreement, that's
understand.
where this was
That's
the
what we're
process that
doing.
we were heading down.
Yeah.
Individuals are, I guess, yeah.
Okay,
a different kettle of fish.
because what nonprofit and business are so different. That's why I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood at the meeting.
What we stated at the last meeting, was mentioned up in the past, is that the meeting we're gonna have on the 22nd is gonna be to hear from anybody that's gonna be requesting the property, what their concerns are. And the meeting's gonna be held to both with their ideas and concerns for the property, and see what the community wants to see with the property, or not see with the property. And then it says, if the municipality decides to dispose of the building, which we haven't decided yet, an RFP will be advertised for interested community groups, businesses, or individuals to submit a 5-year proposal, including a financial plan to outline what they would do with the property. if that's what we decided on.
Okay, I knew we hadn't decided yet to go to tender.
No.
Okay, that's where I was coming from.
So, I guess, in fairness to what Jeff was saying too, like, we set a process in place where we're gonna have a meeting on the 22nd for anybody to come in and talk to us about the property.
That's my own, okay.
And then you have to go sit there for 4 hours.
Like,
Well, that's what I'm gonna have to do that day, because if people are coming in, I wanna hear them.
I plan on being there.
But that's the place
But-
maybe to do it.
But the thing is that, we did set up a process,
That's fine.
and this request is asking us to deviate from that. I mean, I think it's fair to say that we've been trying to be supportive on what the community has been asking for. I was asked if they could have the ability to see inside the property, and we arranged that so that they could do that. I think 17 people went through it. And, which is great, because that way they know what they're up against, and they go in the property and they see what condition it's in. So, and, once we have the public meeting, then after that, if we decide to do an RFP, then everybody will have a chance to come forward with their request or whatever they would like to see happen to the property.
And it's not gonna be a purely financial thing, I'm gonna be looking at what would be best for the community as opposed to what's best for the individual business.
No, it's not that. We just gotta see what the viability of the property is. If I gave you the property and you didn't do nothing with it,
It's gotta be sustainable, correct?
yeah.
There's better things to store.
So,
That's what we're gonna have.
whatever the decision, will our deputy CEO be sending them an email to let them know?
Yes.
Okay, all we need to know.
Okay, next is the information items. We had correspondence back from our MP, Colin
Yeah.
Fraser, regarding the connected.
Did you make a decision then?
Oh,
I just wanna make
Okay.
sure.
well, we didn't have a motion, but I think it's gonna be consensus, basically to, or you wanna make a motion?
No, I just wanted to make
I think it was
sure.
consensus that we send a letter back and let them know what process we put in place.
Yep.
And how to fit in.
And then, yeah.
And that individuals are allowed to come to council, and because that's one of the questions that.
I guess to clarify, in the past though, if the item is not on the agenda, the interaction between the gallery and council, like our committee of the whole meeting doesn't generally involve the gallery speaking if you're not on the agenda. So this is where I need some clarification, right?
Well, to me, I have a right to come to council no matter what. Bring
Yeah,
forward
the agenda,
anything, it's like, Open Hydro was here tonight, that's certainly,
I think you're mixing, Open Hydro provided a presentation tonight.
right.
So we're talking about if an individual member comes to sit in the gallery,
No, they're asking if they can come address council. And what is the protocol for that?
They call 902-245-4777.
You put it on the agenda, it's like any other.
Like everybody else.
right? So I guess just to make sure, other council, so what is likely going to happen here is the members of this committee will be coming to that committee of the whole as individuals. That's what
Or
they want to do.
they may come they may ask for permission for while I'm gone, I don't know.
Right.
Like I said,
But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying now. It's if they ask as an individual to make a presentation.
yeah, or they
Instead of
want,
asking
to
as a
ask
society.
questions, yes.
Yeah.
That's,
And it's not to say they can't. But it's a matter of when it fits into the calendar of the council too.
yes, but I just meant, I misunderstood or,
No.
yes, we were both understanding each other.
So everybody's all right?
Yeah.
Okay, we had correspondence from Colin Fraser, our MP, regarding the Connect to Innovate program. I don't know where that's gonna end up, but, I do know that there's good news hearing that the province is gonna put $120 million into internet services, and we're hopeful that, something can come out of that to help our youth, but, we still gotta wait. I was kinda hoping that the announcement would be made by now, whether or not we were going to get anything in this area or not.
So we're probably looking pretty chilly on that.
And I think Evan is also working hard. One, we want to know about our application, but two, if anything is happening in the Southwest, not only just, if there were other applications, so just trying to find out or any of these announcements, no information is going to get.
No information.
She is actively monitoring that just to see if what is happening in this whole region by any of the avenues.
So it's not dead yet, right? Life support?
No, but are we being active in looking at this $120 million of the province? When's this coming out?
That
How do
was
we get it?
first in line.
Iran.
Yeah, we want to be the first one.
Our executive director for Iran's already started to work on that.
Yeah, I think that there was a conference call last week with the CAOs
They already
on
started.
that. The province at this point has not released any more of their plan other than they're putting that into a trust. They've released absolutely no details. So I know that the REN is actively following up on that to try and find out what their hopes are.
It's a timely investment, though. Very glad for that.
I was talking to our MLA also on the weekend. He called me, and this is something that he feels that we can take advantage of in this area, this money.
Will this money be available this year?
Well, it's not all 121 year, but
Yeah.
I think there's money in this budget
Yeah.
for a part of it. So,
There's enough of this portion of the Nova Scotia that we should be able to sit pretty good.
what's that?
It was a
Working
one-off
together.
funding thing, announcement in regards to offshore royalties, so I thought they would make it. It's my understanding it was a windfall, and I assumed it would be all available.
I don't think so. I don't think it's all available for 1 year. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think it is. But I think you're right where the money's coming from. Okay, the next is the general information items. You had the third quarter report from the Western Ren, and you had the letter that or the minutes, I should say, from January for the Big Erie Board of Trade, 2018. The typo. Advisory Committee's minutes and reports, the Joint RCMP Advisory Board for December 2017. Are there any questions? Planning Advisory Committee, the minutes from November of 2017. Does anybody have any questions on that? Have you had another meeting yet since that one?
Yes, we have one.
You're working on the wind turbine, or we'll do the wind turbine bylaw?
Yeah.
We just have
And
one
we're gonna
week
have
to-
a public meeting coming up in May, on May,
May 29.
the week after. We're having a public meeting,
Okay.
to go over the, updates on the, bylaw.
What did you say?
May the 29th. Yes, you should.
Yep, I did.
Okay. Other council committees, Upper Clements Park Society, February minutes were provided. Do you have any questions? The next is the joint intermunicipal committees. First is the Big Erie Recreation Commission, the February minutes, Recreation Director's report, Facility Manager report, Active Building Coordinator report, and organizational chart.
Now, the organizational chart is new. We just passed it this past week, just to show everyone, how it is with the rate mayor, the town and municipality, and then what is involved with the end of the organization. Recreation Director is actually Bob Powell, and then the three managers is Kara Sunderland, Cindy O'Neill, and Danny Hardew, and then the other staff are down again. So we just wanted to let everyone know. We are updating policies, and that comes soon. Our policy meeting is on April the 4th, and we're updating all our policies. And you know who's chair.
You? You're complicated, aren't you?
I love policies.
Oh, you gotta, all these lists.
Is there any questions for recreation?
I have a statement though, Bob's been fantastic on a number of files down on the islands. I just want to say what an amazing resource and how helpful, especially in regards to, the people he knows. Give this person a call. Yeah, wonderful. It's just an exceptional job, with Bob.
I will just comment that I think we have a great staff
Oh,
all over.
All over.
When I'm looking I'm looking at the activities that are happening, Tara, is called active living.
Mhm.
And it is active living. It's well done, and Cindy and her capacity, I can tell you.
I'm hearing lots of people put Tara down on that.
Tara Sutherland got the
Yeah.
Woman Center Award.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, I'm hearing lots of good things for her in particular.
And the only other comment I wanted to make, we are putting a new, doors on.
I saw that.
Okay.
Fixing up the ball field too.
Yeah, I saw that in the report.
But I just wanted to make, because that is,
One thing I'd like for you to take back to Derek is that I got a phone call from an upset resident in the fact that they decided to take the ice out a week early.
we've already discussed that at
Yeah,
the
I brought
meeting.
that up at the meeting.
The reason, yeah, but they don't use it during March break.
Might try next year.
And, what it is, we did the other activities that we thought were more important, and we had an unofficial deal made with Claire as well. We opened early, and then we closed, and Claire stayed open, like we opened 2-3 weeks early, they stayed open 2 weeks later. And it was a deal within us so that we could make sure we were not losing money.
Right.
And that is, it's a cost.
But the curling club, the curling club's run on the same plant as the
No,
arena?
it's a different plan.
No, it's
the same
That's
plant.
because we saved money by opening the same time as the rink this year. That's why I brought it up. And Bob said when he looked at, if, they do that switch and roll with Claire, they may try doing some, may try to keep it open an extra week next year. But Greg Nixon's also looking at a hockey camp too. It may not happen, but it's something that they would.
We have found that they said with March break happening, a lot of parents are away and it's just not utilized, and at the cost, and he gave us the price, were we willing to absorb that cost?
Yeah, that's
And-
fine, I'm just
yeah.
passing on that I had
Yeah.
a phone call come in, and they were quite upset that there was no public skating during March break.
Last year, nobody went.
Well, she must have, or she wouldn't have known about it, but
I was at Warren.
the fact.
No, we didn't
but-
have
I don't know if
we
March
didn't
break-
have turnout last year.
Okay, that's fine.
No,
but
no,
I'm
I'm
passing
saying
on
that was
concern.
brought up.
But the other thing too I wanted to add to that was that, by condensing the timeline when it was done, and I know that, and I'm not, by myself and Jeff, we play in a rec league, there's a 5-team men's league that plays there, and we had to condense our schedule and jam it into the fact that we had to play quite a few games in 1 week. In about a week and a half, we had to play a lot of games, which should have been spread out longer. It would have been nice to know that beforehand, I guess, if they were gonna close early, so they could have adjusted the schedule so it could have accommodated that better. So it wasn't just, it's not just minor hockey using the facility, or it's not just figure skating using the facility, there's other.
But when
users
they
as well.
canceled, we had to make decisions.
Oh, I'm not knocking it for a business decision, but I'm just saying, I did have the concern come forward, and I wouldn't have raised it except for the.
Oh, we did
about
too.
the ice, except for the fact that I had a lady call me about the fact that she was quite upset that they didn't have any ice during March
But we
break.
instead had free bowling, did free camps, we did a lot of.
That's good.
Yeah,
Anyway, I just wanted to pass that on.
yeah.
And, is there any way, sorry to center for a second, Linda, that the DART could send down the monthly schedule to be published in passages?
I can ask, and I was sent to the school.
Yeah, if passages, even if they could condense it or put it on the side, like that gets, everybody reads it. It has, and it's like double the
And we
circulation
put,
to be clear.
okay, and we put it on Facebook. But I will
Yeah,
talk to,
Lewis, yes, Facebook.
and so I will ask Cindy about it to see, and
just-
for passages, right?
The email is onepassages@gmail.
One
Yeah,
passage,
the number one.
like,
One,
yeah,
numeral,
at,
onepassages@gmail.com.
oh, Gmail.
Yeah, one passage.
I thought you were saying email or something. What the
That's
heck?
all I think that.
Okay, the next is gonna be the King's Transit Authority High School Bus Pass Project, the minutes for January. the general manager's February report, January ridership, revenue and finance reports, and a February share update. Does anybody have questions?
Have they hired a new manager yet, or is it?
We're in the process. And it's gonna take us a little longer than anticipated, but there will be interviews being done to, when they get it down to 3 or 4 people.
The concern I have is the report, when you looked at the stats, our ridership in January was terrible.
Oh, I know.
And do they have any understanding of what?
We know that
Is it worth the
we know
tax?
it's been dropping, and we don't know why. We are looking at different things on how to bring it forward, how to bring it up. They do think the change in our time is gonna make a big difference on us,
For the cost, you mean?
for the cost.
Yeah.
But we are working on different ways on how to get ridership up.
I've seen the numbers there, and it
It was scary.
was a big drop.
We did a lot of discussion.
People paid a ridiculous amount of money for the amount of people that are running. You could almost run the whole thing with a minivan.
Not really.
Bus.
It makes a big difference for the people going to the hospital.
Oh, I know it does, but I wish there might be the amount that we're paying, we're not getting, the amount that the citizens are paying, just, whoa. Might as well just buy anyone a taxi that wants one to come out ahead. So it's getting to that point.
I don't agree, but
Well, it's something to think about. It's very expensive and less. Well, the other day, I'm sure if you sent them all on a taxi.
There's more than 8 of them.
All right, we're gonna move on. Sideview Terrace, January minutes. Is there any questions?
yes, they said there was some attachments, but I didn't find any attachments that were given out,
What's that?
in the minutes.
Sideview Terrace
It said
report?
in Sideview Terrace, it said they gave you attachments on,
That's other resolution?
no. It was on, was it reports? Yeah, we're not seeing, like, handout provided, handout responded, on bed, turnover and waiting list.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I mean, I would like to see that.
Okay, I will,
Because if you've got it, I mean, that's all that is, they can scan it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was talking about.
Okay, I was just thinking of minutes, I guess, I can, any other handouts or if there's any extra. papers and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing else on that. We're gonna move on to outside boards, committee minutes. Dig Vieira Tourism Association for January and February, the minutes. Both there, is any questions? I just want to pass on that I think Greg's done an awesome job, and I'm just glad that he hasn't gotten burnt out yet, because I know he's volunteering his time for what he's doing, but he's a great ambassador for this area.
We had a great time, good time down at the Boston
Right.
show.
Yeah.
Oh, video of that.
We had a lot of people come through and so it was probably better than Salt Springs.
Better than Salt Skaters.
It's good or probably better. It's got more people there were actually people looking to go on holiday, right? Whereas Salt Skates is cultural. A lot of people are just spend the time, you know,
Have fun.
passing through it, and
Yeah.
all over go to Salt Skates. You know, it was a different clientele kind of thing.
That's good to know.
Okay, Southwest Biosphere Society,
Our,
D7 2018 project and activity update.
and our next meeting is actually April 6th, and I'm going to probably be joining by phone.
Do that for the first time.
I did that for my first meeting ever.
It's hard
I don't
because
know if I'm gonna do it again.
I like it better face to face.
Yeah, I just, I wasn't
Everybody
sure I was
else will
sitting
be
there.
there, but I've asked for them to let me call in.
Probably save this about $40 to drive the vehicle there.
Are there any questions regarding the Southwest Bi-Sewer Society? If not, we're gonna go on to the Councillor District Activity Report, and I'm gonna start with Councillor Tudor.
Yeah, they keep me busy, planning business plans, for a couple different locals, different sort of summer ideas, and some young people that are, taking on Movinas, that's really cool. I've been, working peripherally on the internet issue. Jimmy, as you know from my lead, I've got a long ways to go. But dog control too, was down there. The dog catcher was very good with sometimes fellow. And I've been making a real point of handing out forms for housing. The low income energy program there, I forget the exact names for it. And also trying to push the pace with those who are economically unavailable for the Nova Scotia one. So I've got another person in Little River that is interested. The PACE program, I don't know. It's hard to get people to do it. That little, we got the province doing this in the bottom. We got us doing this above the bottom. I don't know. I think it's fantastic, and let's see if they say something. And the people I grant to, it's just not, no.
If they don't wanna do it, you can't afford
You
it.
can't make it.
Yeah.
I think Terry,
Maybe $1,000 a month or $1,000 a year.
and I think Terry is working on some strategies on the uptake
Okay.
that he's looking to present.
Because I'm trying to push it. Now, a lot left the low income. I'm dropping this off. We should drop off half a dozen. So yeah, been keeping busy with different islandy things. It's been fun.
Councillor Manzer.
I'll pass, I guess, just, I left my calendar home, and all my dates in it.
Anything that stands out?
I can't think of anything that stands out.
No? Councillor Ross. Well, I've been to the Barton Church breakfast. I've took a meeting in with the collaborative practice, met the doctors and the nurse practitioners, and learned how that all operated. That was a good evening. Fielding lots of calls about the Barton School, a lot of interested people, a lot of people in the community. Dealing with roads, all that stuff, that time of the year, and going to committees and meetings and all that fun stuff. Okay. I'll give you my report. Or no, here comes Linda. Your turn.
I need to.
Yeah.
Okay. I attended Mason Van Tassel's celebration of life, following,
Celebration of life, Mason Van Tassel.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's fine.
and it was done at the Phoebe Fire Hall, and I can tell you, a lot of the firemen came dressed in uniform. Yeah. So, anyway. Then I attended recreation events program for 3 days, which was excellent to learn how we can bring more events in, and well done. I also attended what they called a coffee party, and it was to support the Falkburg Hall in Cornwallis, and seeing the seniors there, but it was nice. I had been invited just to go up, so I went. I also went to the Masons fundraiser and had corned beef and cabbage.
How was it?
Oh, it was
I heard the
fantastic.
corned beef cows.
They get the best corned beef around. And then I also went to the Western Wren Connector program, and that's what I wanted to go get. At the Western Wren Connecting program, I'll give these to Pat in a minute, they had 44 connectees and 59 connectors, even though it says a little different here. There's 13 new residents, 11 underemployed locals, 6 immigrants, 4 recent local graduates, 2 boomerangers, 2 recent international graduates, 2 upcoming local grads, 1 upcoming international grad. These are from 21 different agencies, and they just did a little discussion, and they gave me some things. Well, make sure, thank you, that I will pass around, but what it is they try to connect businesses to the person who has the ability. So if you have talent.
Oh, I remember the lady getting a presentation
yes.
here. Yeah.
And so I attended. It was really well done, and they had actually they did it at lunchtime, so they served a nice meal with it. From there, what else did I do? Oh, then I actually attended Respect in the Workplace and how people should be respectful to others. That was one of the things.
I'm looking forward to your new attitude towards it, Linda Gardner. It's going to be all new and fantastic.
Sure it will, just like always. Actually, it was funny. I said, a lot of it is how people perceive. Like, I could be talking with David and horsing around, and David takes it the way it is given, not, you know. But George can be sitting there, and George is getting up. And George is getting upset because he thinks that Linda's being disrespectful to David. And that's how conflict can happen in the workplace. When it's not being, when you're not being respectful. Because even though you think it's okay to clown around, it may not be with somebody else. It was different things. It was a good learning experience that I attended. And then I've had different people calling me about the low income. And I told them that was being set at this council meeting, and then they could start coming in for their papers. Some has probably already tried to come in advance of this week. Okay, because even though I told them, some were saying, well, I only have a write-in. You know, even ask, but it's not in effect until today. And then there's just been a few issues in my area with concerns of what's happening. Thank you.
And for myself, February 27th, I attended a session in Yarmouth regarding the Doppler radar and with Environment Canada. And this is something that the Council for the Municipality of Yarmouth has been leading on. So there was an invitation sent out to the mayors and wardens from Western Nova Scotia to attend this. Environment Canada are in the process of upgrading their systems, and they're looking at moving the current Doppler radar they have up in central Nova Scotia, and they're going to move it about 50 kilometers or so to the west, and it'll have better coverage for down this way. But they also clarified what Doppler radar does, and it doesn't do a lot of things that a lot of people thought it did, and you know, it doesn't have anything to do with wind or waves or anything like that. It's got to do with rain, mainly. And so it was a good discussion on that. There was a couple people in the room that were, I felt, they were getting to the point where they kept bringing their point up time after time after time.
Belaboring the point.
Yeah, and it gets annoying after a bit, but you know, they have concerns. I mean, the fishermen have concerns about wanting to have accurate weather, and I don't blame them for a second. But there's been so many improvements made. They've got a new satellite that they're using now that the Americans put up just in the last 4 months, and the data they're receiving from that, it's awesome. They just can't get over how much data they're receiving. So it's going to give them the ability. Bob Robichaud, the one that sends out the reports to us, he was the one down there speaking. Yeah. So I did that on the 27th. And on the 28th, I went to Halifax for a core review for the library services that I'm working on. So we're getting closer to getting the final report done. Hopefully once that's done. And actually, just to give you an update on that quickly, is that I put a letter off to the minister asking for sort of like a additional fund that they did last year, a one-off. Well, we asked for that once more until this year review is completed, so that some of the regions really struggle. So it was an extra $57,000 for each region, so that was good to get, and hopefully, we're hoping that this review will show the province what the value and importance of the library services are for this province, and what services. It doesn't just, not just CCH, Community Culture and Heritage, but what it does for healthcare or immigration or education. Libraries play a big role in all those. But then on March the 7th, I was invited to go to Halifax by Mr. Levine. He had a session up there on vibrant, active communities and people on active living. And I attended that. That was a really good session. They brought in speakers from the United States and across Canada. And they're finally starting to look at trying to keep people healthy so that they don't have to use the healthcare system as much as they do. And
With diet, exercise.
well, we've got an aging population. It's well known. We've got a population that needs to become more active. They were saying just walking a half hour a day can make a huge, huge difference in a person's quality of life, and all the benefits from that. So it was a good session to attend. So outside of other committee responsibilities, those were the highlights. So next thing on our agenda, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll go in camera. Did you have any questions for us?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Gotta keep in mind, on the island,